Okay, everybody, look who I got on the show now. One of my favorite WOCs in the, I was gonna say the Metroplex, in the whole country. One of my favorite peeps, man. Here she goes. I'm just gonna give y'all a little bit of. She's like an All-American, Texas Tech, WNBA. I did my homework. I'm even gonna go back to high school, but I ain't gonna put the year on it. What was that
It's
high school?
okay. It's
She's
okay.
like, I'm like, man, that girl was a legend in high school. So your players need to know this, that you was a baller. Purdue, all of that.
Yeah.
Did that prep you for what you're doing now?
Yes, it did. You know what? It just all that leads up to say I love what I do. I love what
Mm-hmm.
I do, and I'm blessed in a position to be able to be a servant leader to young women. So I can't knock it. So I'm blessed. Absolutely.
Okay. Because it was a lot. I didn't even, I mean, WNBA crew, assistant coach at Texas Tech, Alabama, Vanderbilt. Man, you just like, I'm going to toot your horn for me. So that's all good. But saying all that, what type of barriers did you face getting into that position? As a WOC.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think first and foremost, I think one of the barriers that you have to talk about is that to show your value of who you are and what you can do. I think a lot of times with the WOC, with a lot of assistant coaches, it's who can you bring to the table? Who can you recruit? And I think that that's definitely a false narrative for women of WOC that we can do a lot more than just recruit. It's our
Crew.
relationship building. It's X's and O's. We know the game.
Yes.
Just the relationship pieces that we do have. And so there's a lot that we bring to the table. And what you do see now is that, hey, we can sit at that table because we can manage programs, right? We can manage the
Mm-hmm.
things that's in front of us. And so it's about a leadership role. And that's, something that I think is important, even for me right now, that I've learned within just being in the seat, but even as an assistant coach, learning what it means to be a leader of your program and to manage a program and manage people.
Yeah.
And so I think that that has been something that, I've learned over the years and continue to keep learning being in the seat.
Yeah. Well, you said something earlier that clicked in my mind about being in a certain space and getting in a certain room. A lot of the coaches can't get in that room that need that mentorship. Is
Right.
that something important for you, the mentorship and the relationship you build with young coaches? Because I was on a call last week with somebody and they definitely mentioned you as a mentor.
Yeah.
So is that important to you?
It's extremely important to me. I was in that position, as an assistant coach, a young and assistant, almost 15 years ago, 16 years ago, and I understood, how that felt. You just wanted somebody to take you underneath their wing and to explain the ins and outs of what it means to be a really, really good assistant. What
Mm-hmm.
it means to, how do you evaluate talent? How do you build relationships with AAU coaches and high school coaches? How do you get your name out there to say, hey, listen, hey, you need to rock with that assistant because I love what she's doing for that program. And so I love that piece about it. Anytime that, any of my coaches, my coaching friends that's in my circle that's saying, hey, we're doing this mentorship for young assistants, I'm there for it. And to be honest with you, Carrie, that's something that eventually I want to continue to keep doing. I think that that's an important piece for up and coming young assistants because I love to hire young. I think that's one of the things that's important for me because I was in that position, but I also want to be able to help them to understand the ins and outs of what that means to be an assistant coach.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I hear so many good things about you. And I just had to get you on the show. And I also should have, first of all, started off. Thank you for having me at the meet and greet. It
Yeah.
just shows you how of a classy lady you are. But I also met you when I and Wes hung out a couple years ago. I ain't
That's
gonna
my
mention
guy.
that.
Listen, hey, and listen, that was a great time to, to be able just to sit down and just have conversation, right? You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
get to really know a person, right? You hear about people from afar and what you heard through other people. But I do think it's important for you to form your own opinion about people when you sit down and let them have a conversation with somebody. And
yeah.
so,
Hey,
so
man.
that's an important piece.
Okay, that's good stuff. So let's get into this too. We're talking relationships. Is it big for you to have? I mean, going into this new era of recruiting, I think it's going to be really, really important for me in my space and for coaches to have relationships, not just, with AU coaches or with whoever, I think there's going to, with the roster reconstruction, that you're going to have to build relationships throughout this whole process. What's your feeling in this new way of recruiting? I call it relationship building recruitment.
Right. Well, I think you have to take it a step further, right? Relationship building is always going to be an important piece. Relationship building is going to have to continue once you do get that student athlete on campus, right? It's something that's going to be imperative that you do. And I think also too, Carrie, it's also, fair to say you could build the best relationship with a student athlete, but it may not fit for them to stay with you very long too. And I think you have to be okay
True.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the nature of the business right now. And I think it's a thing for me where I'm having to learn how I lead, right? Leading, because again, relationships are big with me. So I say, oh, I lead with love a lot, but I'm also now having to learn to lead with perspective. And the perspective is, hey, it is a business side. Those student athletes have to do what's best for them. They may love playing for your program, but at that time, right, there's somebody else that's offering them something a little bit different, and they can't afford to not take that offer. Some may,
Yeah.
some not.
Okay.
And you have to be okay with that. But I think that those relationships will go further along, because I think in the long run, I think that those players will come back to you and say, hey, I just really appreciate who you were as a person. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, since you keep like leading me right into my questions and stuff. How has the NIL collective impacted the way you recruit?
Yeah, so this is the first year that I'm really doing this, and when we're having to really focus on the value of a dollar, right, and looking at the value of what a student athlete brings to you based off of their play. But it's been an interesting piece. I think it's been really valuable for me, because one of the things that I do talk about to all of my student athletes is that you must have a pro mindset, and that pro mindset is that, hey, you just got to produce relentless opportunities every single day. Like, that's in the classroom, that's on the court, that's in the community. And you just treat it that way. You got to be a pro in everything that you do. And I love that piece, because it's not a conversation that we have to have. Like, you're choosing to make decisions, whether they're good or bad decisions, can cost you, the value of your money. Like, it can cost
your
you.
brand.
And so, and you see on the pro level, right, too, it's certain things that you post, or you make one bad decision that could cost you a guaranteed contract. It's a lot of things that can happen. So I think it's a great space. I do think that there's some parameters that we have to look at as moving forward, right? But at the same time, I do love the fact that we're trying to teach young people about, hey, how you show up every day to work, what you do in your work, right, promotes, for you to get a promotion to move up the ladder. I think it's
a part of life.
Yeah. So I think that's what you're learning.
I was talking to a gentleman. We were talking about it, and we were talking about basketball is just not running up and down the court, putting a bucket in the basket. You got to learn some lessons throughout this whole process about it, and you got to take it and apply it to your life.
Absolutely.
And it was a great conversation. But also, how are you dealing with sponsors? You said this year now you got to deal with NLI. You're dealing with your sponsors, is how you, and being a mama. How you balance that?
Listen, it's about, again, what can you control, right? And that's one of the things that my father talks about consistently with me at the age of 43 right now. He's still talking to me about, you have to control the controllables, things that deserve your energy, give it. If it doesn't, leave it alone. And what I've learned is that on the business side, when it deals with money, hey, we have a GM that deals with that. I leave that alone. I coach. I'm teaching, mentoring young women, and I'm also being a mom when that's over with. And so nothing, steps over that. I do a very good job of balancing that with my 5-year-old, but I also have really good support. I got a village that helps with that as well, too. And so we keep, business. And then at the same time, I want our kids to know that I'm going to be here to support them and help them grow within the 4 years they're here with me.
Man, it's like you've been reading my mind on my questions. It's like, okay, you already answered that question about mama and balancing and all that stuff. So how do you work with your GM? And I want to give you my feel on it. Look, because you see my little tag in the corner over there.
Yeah.
I want to ask your feeling now, because back Purdue days, they wasn't having no GM back in the day. It wasn't about him managing millions and millions of dollars on his board. And now the coach doesn't have to have that. I mean, if a coach has to deal with that and recruiting and this. He or she shouldn't have to have to deal with that.
Right.
That's something I think should be separate, and that person who's in that role should work in continuity with the head coach and her staff on players. How do we budget? Can we afford this player? All of that good stuff like that. Right. So what's your feeling? Are you enjoy working with your GM? Because when you said pro, I was going to ask you about being a pro anyway. And it is really, college is becoming professional basketball.
Yeah. So I think for me, Kerry, there's a couple of things that I feel like has really helped me, but I don't truly understand every bit about it. But I do understand being a former, WNBA player, you understand contracts, you understand making sure you read through the literature, what it says, and then you also understand that how impactful can you be for a roster, right? I think that's been very interesting for us. Our GM, Ira Childress, is, who we work with, and I think he's been very supportive of our program and what we do. I can't speak for every team that's in the WAC, but I will say this. I think that we do a good job of taking care of our current student athletes, and I think it's an attractive piece for us in recruiting what we can offer at our level. We decided to opt in, and, and that just shows that that's how, obviously our university and our athletic department is supporting us. They want us to be successful. And you know this too, right? It's in order for you to have success, your administration has to support what you're doing.
Oh, 100.
Like it's too
100%.
hard to do this, and so they're very supportive of what we're doing. So I think it's been thus far, it's been really, really good for us. What they're doing, we're working through the kinks, right? It's not something that's really set in stone, and we feel like we got it right now. Now, will we make some mistakes along the way? Absolutely. But one thing that I have preached and I said, I will continue to stay out of that. I will give my thoughts, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I want him to control those things. And I think that's a big respect between the both of us.
Do you work with them in terms of recruiting and the type of player you want? And if you want this player, with this new coming up, boy, it's here. Yeah. The new rulings and the we call it DSAs and all of this stuff. And I think that, like I said, I've been doing a lot of studying on this, all of that stuff, because I hear a lot of guys talk while you're at the gyms, but I'd be like, man, you haven't did your homework. You don't understand what's going on.
Right.
But working with your GM to work with you to get the players, to develop the players, to keep players to stay. Does that player fit in my budget? Or, I want this player. You have to go to this, just like in the pros. I think you got to work with your GM now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing, right? It's saying, hey, I really want this player. I need this player. But again, it goes to, Kerry, you're looking at your roster piece. And I think one of the things that I looked at, especially within going into year 6, every year has been a learning curve for us.
You just got there. I just remember when you just got there.
Yes, year 6, that's crazy, right? But time flies when you're having fun, right? So I think that's the biggest thing. But looking at it, especially I'll use our roster, for example, this upcoming year. It was important for me to return our core of players that we do have. And, that core was very valuable to our success the last couple of years. And so making sure that, hey, we put the right pieces together. And I thought that, we had conversations. We talked about kind of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to approach the transfer portal, how we wanted to, approach this whole recruiting piece. And I thought we did a really good job of talking about that. And, and we looked at what was a need. What were your needs and what is this roster really lacking? And I thought that that's kind of where he added some value to that piece.
Okay.
Of, who we need.
Does he have a basketball background?
He does have a basketball background. Just recently just came from LSU. And so he, obviously, again, he gets that, right? That's a different, brand of just, again, you're talking about athletics, what they're doing right now. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so, so we've worked through those things there too. And like I said, is it set in stone how we're doing it? No, but it's the first year. And like I said, along the way, your first year is like a pilot program for you.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it was important for us to take care of all of our players who are here, for them to understand what it means, right? We just can't give out the money. Like there's something to be said for that, and how you perform and how you do things, how you go to class, how you do in the classroom,
totally.
All of those things, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be valuable to, the money that you're making. And so, but it's here. We don't run from it, you accept it. You have tough conversations. Well, I don't think they're tough conversations. It's about it's professionalism, right? This is
Oh,
the
yeah.
setting that we're in right now. So we accept it, and then, hey, we respect each other's, boundaries with that.
Well, are you up on the new rulings? I've been studying it. It's like, man, you better have a GM. You better have a GM, because I don't think the coaches should have, be abreast of it. No, but you're talking going in deep in terms of, okay, each team's supposed to get $20 million. We split the $20 million amongst all the athletic department. Boys football is getting this, the DSAs, no things affecting the walk-ons. Now I'm only limited to certain rosters. I think that a GM is super, super important, because you do not, as a coach, you don't have time to do that. It's just, I need to be aware of it as a coach, but I need to coach and develop, not worrying about budgets, sponsors, and all this other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'm up to as much as I could possibly handle at that time, right? Because like you said, it's got to be coaching, but that's where the GM comes in at, to understand what we can and cannot do. And I think I will say this, I feel like our administration did a really good job and was ahead of the curve with all of this stuff before the House settlement stuff settled in, right? The collective, all this stuff came in. And so when we met as head coaches. It was a weekly meeting that we did, and we discussed these things. And so I thought that they did a really, really good job of preparing us for it. Still, like I said, still a lot of stuff that we're learning about it as we move forward with it all. But I think that our administration did a really good job of preparing us for this.
Well, I think it's, in order to have that roster reconstruction every year, you and your GM has to work hand in hand to achieve the goal. You're going to have to. If you can't have a GM that you're not not two guys out of the same yoke, the same vision,
and your
because that's going to cause problem.
Right. Your athletic director has to be involved in that too as well.
Oh, yeah,
right?
for sure.
Support what you're doing. And, my AD, John Fagg, obviously, again, another guy from the SEC that came from Arkansas, again, they got to see all these different things. They got to see, just the dollar amount of this, again, the value of this for student athletes. And so, they've been really good at that. But I think that they have done a really good job of working with me and making sure that, hey, that they are supporting my needs and what I want for my program to be successful, because everybody's program is not going to be ran the same way. And I'm okay with that. It's a unique situation here at UTA, and I love what we've built here with my staff. And I think that this is an important piece for us as we move forward in recruiting, right? All those different things that we need to have support. But it's great to have podcasts like this, Carrie, too, for that word to get out. So it may be a student athlete, or it may be a donor, or it may be a business owner that sees this and say, man, I really want to, help out UT because I love what they're talking about. I love this, or I wanted to see them. And so I think those things are important.
Well, you asked I don't know. I think you just keep reading my mind. I was just getting ready to ask you a whole new staff, and pretty much a whole new staff reconstruction. You went to reconstruction your staff this year. How's that working? And what do you think about I know you're gonna say good things about the staff, and how do you feel about it?
Right, absolutely. Again, Carrie, I think the biggest thing for a leader to understand that it's not personal, it's business. And you have to, it's like you look at your roster every year, you have to look at, your staffing. And that's why you have conversations with your staff throughout the season, so, they're aware of what's going on. And, you just kind of look at it and going into year 6, what are some things, that you've got to continue to improve on for your program to continue to be successful. And you have conversations, and everybody, there's some times where you have conversations with there's other desires from other, people on your staff. And so, I'm definitely indebted to all of the assistants that have been in my program. A lot of them, they've gone off and been very successful, and I have to credit them for that. And that's one of the things I am proud of. My coaching tree is definitely.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I saw your guy up in Connecticut. Is he in Connecticut?
Listen, he's now with Indiana.
He done moved on again.
Wife, Karima, also were on my staff. That we worked together with Stephanie White at Vanderbilt. And so, they're growing. JoJo, Hernandez was a player of mine.
She's at Colorado. Did you see her on the show? She was on.
Yes. She's just doing an awesome thing. Sean Elbeck is at Boston College. Gerald, obviously, who's been around for years, obviously is coaching as a head coach right now. Rosalind, who's been with me and, obviously has helped me kind of get to the point I am right now. I mean, it's got great things coming for her too as well. So it's growing, even like my staff now, Kaylin, Boyd is, moving up the ranks, rising star, as we've talked about. And then I added some really nice pieces to, the staff that I feel like these individuals bring some different things to the plate for us to continue to keep growing.
Definitely. Well, I was impressed with the staff. I was impressed with you. Over the years I've known you. I can't believe it's been 6 years. Wow. It's just been going super fast. So
yes.
What about the league, the WAC? You were so close last year. I'm watching your game. Thank God for ESPN Plus. I watched all games. I'm just a basketballer. I watched that game and I'm like, y'all had it. Y'all just had it. Ooh, you were right there. There. Man, a couple of times right there.
Listen, I'm fortunate enough that, not say fortunate. Listen, when I took the job, the standard was to always compete for championships. And, each year has been a learning curve. Each year has been a lesson learned. And, that year 2 when we won and went to the NCAA tournament, that was our last year in the Sun Belt before we came to the WAC. And the WAC, I talk about this all the time. I think a lot of people don't get a chance to see it because, we're probably not talking about the WAC as much. And, that's one of the things I try to definitely make sure anytime I can get somewhere and talk about it, talk about the competition within our conference and how competitive it is night in and night out. And we know Grand Canyon did an amazing, they had an amazing season last year. Molly Miller has, got to give her credit for that, what she did with that program. And like you said, had them on the ropes. This wasn't our time.
One more punch in the gut. Ooh.
It definitely was a punch in the gut. I think that what it taught me is that again, it's your habits have to be consistent every day. How you practice, how you take care of your bodies, right? It's just understanding all those things.
You got to be a pro, like you
Absolutely.
said. You got to be a pro. It's not college anymore. You're here to get paid and have a good experience. You're a pro now. Come on.
Absolutely.
So that's the way you got to address your brand and you. What type of player? So I know a lot of dads and a lot of people watching the show, and I want to give props to UTA if you want to stay home. A lot of people don't understand the value of staying home. There's a lot of perks to it. But what type of player do you like that you think is a UTA fit?
Yeah, you know what? One of the things that I do love about, me is that I'm big on versatility. That's me. When I was coming out, I got knocked a lot too, Carrie, coming out of high school because people just didn't know truly what my position was. Now you got positionless basketball players, right? That's kind of, what it was. And that's kind of how I feel, how I recruit. I'll be honest with you. There's this certain type of players that really intrigue me, and I'm paying attention. I think it's an art to evaluate, right? Especially at our level.
100%. Everybody think they can evaluate.
Right. And I think it's a unique thing. But I'll say this, when I spent my time with Christy Curry, spent 7 years with her at Tech and 5 years at Alabama, we took over 2 programs where we had to rebuild it. And, we were on the verge of making sure that, hey, we're probably going to recruit that kid that definitely is probably Power 5, but probably on the verge of being a really good mid kid, right? But eventually those kids are going to be really good for us. Or you're going to probably end up taking a kid that everybody kind of looked over, but then ends up being, an absolute, SEC, or a Big 12 performer. We looked at that. So I think that's kind of the same thing that I'm kind of looking at is just, again, how gritty are you? How tough are you? Do you have length and do you have size?
Y'all hear that, dads? Y'all hear that, girl dads? This is what we're looking for, UTA. Grit, toughness.
Yeah, but I think it's understanding where the game is going to. Who, what does everybody want to watch right now, right? The pros, is you see it now.
3-ball, pick and roll.
Very athletic, get up and down the floor, but can you create? Can you create, and do you have a basketball IQ? I think that's what people want to watch and
smart.
See.
Gotta know the game, study.
Absolutely. So I think that's what we've done here. I think we've done a really good job, whether it's been us getting in the portal, whether it's been us being able to keep certain, high school players to be able to come here and stay home. Yeah. But I think that we've found the right fits of players, or even as relationships that I've had in the past. I've had players being able to come back and play for me, right? Because that's where the relationship comes back in at. They may have, I may have coached them or they may have told me no, but hey, they back in that portal and they hear from us, I've already built that relationship, or we've already done it.
Back to what we talked about earlier, relationship. Right. I don't know what you're talking about. You talking about people didn't know where you were supposed to be. You scored 3,200 points in high school, 1,100 rebounds or more, 222 block shots. Come on now. People didn't know what
Back in the
you should
day, like
be.
that, Carrie, like it's the evaluation piece. But I have to say this, like my class coming out, was loaded from top to bottom. I mean, you're talking about people like Diana Taurasi and Elena Beard and Isis Tillis and, Nicole Powell that was in the class, Ebony Hoffman, like names they
Nicole
probably
Powell, Stanford.
Yes, absolutely. So these players, Ashley Robinson, that's right here from South Grand Prairie, right? Like those, like it was top to bottom was really, really good. And so you're talking about there was different styles of play, different styles of players. And so for me, I think that's kind of what I was used to seeing. In the Big Ten at that time playing at Purdue, it was just different styles of play.
Yeah.
Physicality, right? Now it's kind of changed a little bit, but I like that. I like that, hey, I love my roster to be able to play different styles. I love if we want to play big, we want to press, we want to play small ball, we can do it.
Yeah, you get the ingredients that you want. I know you have nothing but success there. And I know how busy you are, so we gotta come and we'll talk hoop all day. So we gotta land this plane. But I want to ask one question before I go because I didn't get it. How are you handling it? How are you doing the portal? Because that's a big part of your roster reconstruction, meaning I got to re-recruit my own players first and then look into the portal to kind of. Are you working with your GM on that? Because that's another topic later we could talk about with the role of the GM helping you out in that area.
Right. I think the thing for me, you have to sometimes it has to be a unique situation for you in the transfer portal because I think everybody is doing the same thing, right? Everybody's trying to find that player. I mean, once they go, like we're refreshing, right? Every program is refreshing to see who's going to the portal, right? I think now it's what risks are you willing to take to see does this work for you? And I think that that's not so much a risk piece, but it's a good risk. Like I think that those things are important too. I think that what we looked at and we talk about it, we decided to go a different route. We took three sisters that played in my alma mater, and they wanted to play together. And I think it's going to turn out to be really good because it's an opportunity for us to bring them in here to develop to play in our system, alongside of going with our core players that know what the culture is about. And so it was a unique situation of how we dabbed in. We went and got players that probably need to come back home and play in front of their hometown. So we focused on unique situations within this portal piece. And we had relationships with players who probably nobody even knew that was in the portal. So we went a different route, kind of different from everybody else. And so we're excited about what we have right now. We're excited that we're putting it together. It takes time. But I think you learn from year to year. And in year 6, we're excited about what we do have, our product. And right now, it's just making sure that they can mesh, that they're healthy. And we're getting ready for, the fall to come here soon. So we're excited.
Well, I'm glad you took time out to get with me. I appreciate you. I know how busy your time is. So I appreciate you coming on the show. So all you girl dads out there, visit the website, go to the girldadpodcast.com. All of our social medias, UTA is hot. Support my lady. She will make her better. I just dropped y'all all of her info. So if you want to ball her and get taught the right way, then you want to send her there. So Coach, thanks a lot for coming on and sharing some time with me. And I'd love to get back with you at another time and finish this thing up. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Anytime. I appreciate you.
All righty.